Rex Ryan says the Bills should hire Bill Belichick. He's my guy, says Rex Ryan. Okay, three things that would worry me because Belichick knows the division and would love to beat Robert Kraft and Mike Vrabel because Vrabel's the only expatriate that doesn't kiss Belichick's butt. He pokes him in the ribs constantly because Vrabel right now is a better coach than Belichick is today. So number one is you have to keep Belichick away from pro personnel. He's so arrogant. He thinks he's good at it. He's awful at it. His last 7 years were brutal in New England with personnel on draft day. I was told by two sources mid-January, he said, guys, I got it from here. Awful. Nick Casario left him, went to Houston. Now Houston drafts as well as anybody in the league because Belichick had his thumb on him. And Brandon Beane is the GM of Buffalo. He's not known as a great draft guy either. He's a great cap guy. He's a smart guy. He's a confident guy. He doesn't have the best reputation in my sourcing as a great, Jason Light in Tampa, John Snyder guy, Les Snead guy, Brett Veach guy, Howie Roseman. That's not his thing. He's not a great trade guy. He's not a great draft guy. He may be okay. He's not great. Belichick's a disaster, indisputable disaster. Number two is old defensive coaches. This is a theory of mine. They don't age as well. I think the league's now getting younger with coaches, but I'm okay with older offensive coaches. Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, Andy Reid, because offensive coaches tend to be creators. It's like Hollywood. Hollywood's got all sorts of 70-year-old directors and actors and writers and entertainers. Creative people age better than brute force. And defensive guys are about toughness and volume, and there's a way to do it, and authoritarian. Remember the late Bobby Knight, how he aged. Not very well, very restrictive, very rigid, my way or the highway. That's Belichick. Belichick has said, I only want to coach certain guys, my kind of guys. I mean, literally, he made Matt Patricia an offensive coordinator. I don't think defensive coaches, old defensive coaches, age as well. Brute force has a ceiling. Creativity is ageless. If you're smart and funny and creative, you could be a stand-up comic in your 70s. George Burns was funny till he died. Creatives age better. That's not Bill's thing. And the other thing is, and we have to be totally honest about this, Belichick, there's no new guys in his circle. He hires retreads. Even in Carolina, he kept Freddie Kitchens, and that's another old guy, Bobby Petrino. He doesn't want a new young set of eyes unless the last name is Belichick. It's one of his kids. I know that sounds brutal, but go look at his New England hires. He hires guys that have failed elsewhere. Where's his McVay on the staff or his Kyle Shanahan on the staff? Where are they? Vrabel will go get it. So I'm not anti-defensive guy. I'm not. I think D'Amico Ryans is great. Mike McDonald in Seattle's amazing. I prefer offensive guys, but I can live with a Brian Flores. I've been saying this for 2 years. Somebody give that guy a job. I think he's great. But you can't let Bill do anything with a draft. You can't let him touch it. Brutal. Secondly, older defensive guys, the numbers are right here. They don't age as well. Third, he doesn't put any new guys. I mean, Andy Reid's always got a new young guy in his staff.
All right. And their elite defensive coordinator is that veteran Spags. The Eagles' elite defensive coordinator was Fangio, another seasoned coach. Okay, let's settle down. Last year, Colin was advocating for the Eagles to fire their coach by Thanksgiving and bring in Bill Belichick. So, I'm a bit puzzled by this. If anything, these old-school defensive coordinators, who are excellent coaches, by the way, they tend to age gracefully. It's actually the older offensive coaches whose effectiveness tends to decline more noticeably, with the exception of true all-time greats like Andy Reid. Or, we'll have to wait and see how Sean Payton ultimately fares. But I believe he still has several years to go before we label him an all-time great. And Harbaugh just brought on Mike McDaniel. What point are you trying to make? What exactly are you saying? His entire innovative genius boils down to dominating the line of scrimmage and running the ball, right? So, that's hardly on par with the McVays or the Shanahans of the world. Therefore, I believe I want innovative young offensive minds, and I'm completely fine with older defensive coordinators. That's my personal perspective. Although, listen, I do want a mixture. But you can't dispute the defensive systems that Fangio has constructed, that Spags has built, that Bill Belichick has created. Ideally, at this stage, you might want Bill in a coordinator role or something similar, but if you hire Bill Belichick as head coach, this is the scenario where you'd want to take that chance and possibly secure Bill Belichick as the head man. However, and you can't do this now because Mike McDaniel is joining the Chargers, but pairing him with an offensive coordinator like a Mike McDaniel type. You still need that because what's so compelling about this is if you can truly reconstruct Bill's defenses and he returns to the NFL, proving he can still craft and coach these incredibly formidable lockdown units. That's huge. But you still require someone on offense to simplify things for Josh Allen. You still need to make it easier to unleash Josh Allen, particularly in the most critical moments. I've already shown you the clips, the highlights, and those instances, especially in playoff games, where they consistently place the entire burden on Allen's shoulders. And when you contrast that with other quarterbacks and their situations, whether it's Mahomes or Matthew Stafford or whomever, those moments are profoundly significant. They simply lack the proper system. They lack the discipline. They lack the correct coaching in those pivotal situations. Can a Bill Belichick at least instill that discipline and that standard of execution? Without a doubt. But you also need the coordinator. You need the coordinator who is not only designing the right plays, but, with Belichick overseeing practices and operations, demands impeccable organization and peak performance. So, once again, I'm not necessarily in favor of hiring Bill Belichick because I don't know who Bill Belichick is in 2026. I understand it's very easy to crack jokes about him, his collegiate performance, and his final years in New England, and the whole situation with his girlfriend or whatever she is. I get that. I really do. But from a pure football standpoint, I think it's incredibly difficult for us as outsiders to assess his current capabilities as a coach. Does he go to Buffalo and remain the great Bill Belichick? Or is it more like, man, you're just not the force you once were. You're not the same person. Anyone who has interacted with older individuals knows there's definitely a difference. If anyone has elderly parents, you understand the distinction between when they were 50 and when they're 75. It's simply different. Firstly, they're also managing different life aspects. I guarantee a Bill Belichick is visiting the doctor far more frequently than in his 40s. They're simply dealing with other matters. Consider some of the decisions he's made recently. So, it's just hard to gauge. Is he more distracted? When he was with New England and Tom Brady, it was football 24/7, non-stop. Nothing else took precedence. Now, apparently, many other things do. Currently, the pool of available coaches is shrinking, especially if you miss out on someone like Brian DeBole. This is where you might wish to bring in Bill Belichick as a defensive coordinator and perhaps install Brian Daboll as the offensive head coach, or flip the roles, but make it clear, Brian Daboll runs the offense. I don't know. Sometimes you have to think creatively. Sometimes you have to make intriguing moves. It's somewhat of a role reversal. Andy Reid brought in Spags for the defense, and I'm telling you, Spags has complete autonomy over that unit. He is essentially the head coach, but solely for the defensive side. The same applies to Fangio and the Eagles. And this approach has certainly succeeded for both franchises. But, yeah, a move like this is fascinating, and I'd be more inclined to consider it. And it's also amusing because he's discussing age and such. How old do you think Harbaugh is? Defend Harbaugh's age. How old do you believe he is? He's not 38. But I don't. The Bills are currently a mess. Hearing their owners' comments about their draft picks and such, it's a strange statement to make about your own receiver. It just illustrates how poorly managed franchises can operate and how challenging it is for quarterbacks and players to thrive. It's no shock that the Bills have repeatedly failed to overcome the final hurdle. Observing how this organization is run, it's unsurprising that a player like Diggs can achieve immediate success with Josh McDaniels and Vrabel in New England. These outcomes simply don't astonish me. Especially as we hear more from Buffalo, especially as we listen to those in authority speak, you think, what is even happening here? What is this? And could Bill Belichick have neutralized all that dysfunction in the past? Yes. But in 2026, sometimes it's perfectly acceptable to admit, I have no clue. I have no idea. That's why you need to have conversations with these candidates. But it is interesting. And if it's not him and not Brian Daboll, then who is it? I know they're interviewing someone, I forget his name right now, some candidate who was interviewed back in 2017 or something. I don't know, man. I don't know. You know, I look at the Chargers, and it's such an exhilarating day for them securing Mike McDaniel. That's monumental. That can and will fundamentally transform that franchise. It will alter the trajectory of Justin Herbert and that offense. It will reshape Justin Herbert's career path. It is a massive, massive, massive acquisition. It's just a pity the Buffalo Bills can't seem to orchestrate that caliber of hire. This is what I expressed last year. And you know what? I'll keep reiterating it. You made an error last year. You should have dismissed Sean McDermott and hired Ben Johnson. And frankly, shame on you for not doing so. Because if you had Ben Johnson with Josh Allen, I'd be creating a video declaring, it's game over, it's finished, it's a wrap. See you, goodbye. But now you're left pondering, well, do we still consider Bill Belichick? It's like, but those are just my opinions. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about the Buffalo Bills potentially hiring Bill Belichick? Would you support that? Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. Whether you agree or disagree with me, either way, let's engage in some discussions. Let's have some debates. But ultimately, let's just enjoy the conversation. And please consider subscribing. We're fostering an incredible community here and would absolutely adore having you as part of it. I aim to build something we all genuinely feel connected to, something we're truly excited to belong to. I think we're well on our path to achieving that. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it significantly boosts visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so very much.